this will be the first episode of KenneyCast with David and Cody Reynolds. And I'm so honored to have you. Y'all don't understand. I've just been pumped. It's and this has nothing to do with it's my birthday, but this was when when your birthday falls on a Wednesday and you have the opportunity to book and stuff like that, and just kind of letting it sit there. And we've kind of going back and forth and thinking what I wanted to do, and I don't know, David. We talked about this off and on, and talked about getting a poster on the wall and all that stuff, and because in all reality. Man, there's no live music venue of the year. There's no Kenney Store. There's no Tony and Rita and live music and the passion for it. If along the way, because we can't book George Strait every night, you know. So the local bands and the young talent that comes through, in both y'all's cases, I mean, are just it's a complete backdrop and it's a molding of the Kenney Store and what it is. And as long as we're doing these TV shows and this stuff, I want to try to once or twice a year make sure that I can highlight some of the local artists. And y'all being the first local artist for this TV show is phenomenal for us. Yeah, I mean a lot. I mean,
well, we're honored to be here.
And Rita's busy with the food like she always is in the kitchen. Otherwise, she would be here. So,
no problem.
But David, I'm gonna kind of start with you. I know both of y'all. I've known both of y'all for years, but I mean, I know y'all as well as anybody knows you, you know, from outside the bubble. So give me a quick rundown of your childhood, not because I'll get to kind of when the music came in, but just kind of your background, and you can kind of, as Cody tied in, is where that kind of played into coming into this area, because I know you weren't from here originally, so
correct. I'll
let you take off. So where did David Reynolds start?
Well, grew up in Northwest Houston, out in the Cypress area, and as a young kid had a piano in the house, just kind of gravitated toward it, and my brother, they gave him piano lessons, but I was too young, so it made me mad, so you know, I had to always having to outdo your older brother, right? So I started playing and then just kind of learned on my own, and didn't realize, you know, I could play by ear until the piano teacher finally told my mother that he couldn't teach me because I was reading by, you know, wouldn't reading music. So I kind of started that, and then we lived close to. Back in those days, I had a lot of dance halls around, and used to go out to the dance halls. And
what time period? Okay, I don't mean to date
this
you,
is
but
70s.
Okay.
This would be the. I guess,
we'll call it the late 70s.
Yeah, well, late 70s.
Let's live in the late 70s, wherever that falls.
But that was about mid 70s,
Okay.
and when I really started listening to music, we'd go out. I'd go with my older brother to the dance hall, and I was too fat to dance and too young to drink, so I'd sit there and listen to the bands, and they just fascinated me.
Who's that band that when you go in your head right now, when you're that, well, you said it, when you're that little kid, that little chubby kid that's sitting there that just dialed into the band, who's that band that you see in your mind right now?
So they had a battle dance at a place called Tin Hall.
Okay.
A lot of people know Tin Hall. It was around for many, many years. They had a battle dance. They had two bands. They had Outkast and the Heartbreakers.
Okay.
And, man, they were outstanding. Outkast had a great fiddle player. And for some reason, I just gravitated. I love the fiddle. So I went home and told my mom I was going into junior high, going into 6th grade, and they had an orchestra. So I told Mom I want to play the fiddle, and I want to sign up for orchestra. So they signed me up. I think they rented me a violin. Didn't want to buy it. You don't know if you're gonna stick with it. And first thing I got that thing, and I put on some old Bob Wills records, and I started trying to learn to play Faded Love.
So where did that Bob Wills record come from? That
was my parents. You know, back then you had a big record collection. You know. And they had a pretty wide array of genres, you know. And so, but I found an old Bob Wills record in there and just started learning. And I mean, I think the first week I went to school, went to orchestra, I was already playing, you know, 2 or 3 songs. And we had a counselor at the school that walked in one day. I was in orchestra class learning how to play fiddle. And this counselor walked in to give a pass or something. She heard me playing. And her son was also about the same age, and they had a little family band, a little country band. And she asked me to come over and sit in, and I did, and I started playing with this band. You know, so I was about.
Remember the name of it?
That band was Texas Sidewinders. Texas Sidewinders was the first band I played with.
Okay. Now, what year are we in here, you think?
That was what, baby, 70? Oh, I shouldn't
That's
be saying
okay.
that.
That's okay.
That was
Miss Becky Reynolds is sitting over here in the background. The woman that's gonna pick up in this story here, and then
That was about what, 1980, I guess, huh? Probably 1980.
And you're how old?
I'm about 13, 12,
Okay,
12,
cool.
13.
And you knew Becky back then?
No.
Okay, okay.
Not till about 3 or 4 years later. But.
Okay.
Anyway, started playing fiddle with them, and then just the phone started ringing. Back in them days, that was the urban cowboy days, and there was dance halls everywhere around Houston. So here I go and just start playing as a fiddle player all around Houston, and going from, I'd go with a band for a while, and somebody else would hire me, and we just.
How you getting there?
So when I first started, my dad started. He would drive me, and I will never will forget. We played a place on a Sunday called Bill Mraz, in Houston, and we went, and my dad took me, and we got out of the van and went in, and right when we walked in, there was a huge fight. People throwing tables, and
Right.
he goes, "Dang!" He goes, "Oh man, come on, let's go." I said, "Oh no, Dad. If you get on the stage, everything's good. As long as you're on stage, you're safe."
Right.
And I said, "This happens every week. There's always fighting." So anyway, that only lasted a little while, and then they let me encouraged me to get my hardship license.
Right.
I think when you was 15, you could get that.
That sounds like that's hard times.
Yeah, that's right, that's right. So I got my hardship license and started driving. Before that time, between my dad and some of the members in the band would come by and pick me up, and drive me to the gigs. And so, but those were fun times. And then once I got my license, it was on. I started playing. I remember back in them days, gosh, we was playing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, And my mom told me, as long as your grades, as long as you keep your grades up, you can keep playing. But if your grades get bad, we're gonna cut off the Thursday night.
Because
So-
that on a serious note, what you're making money at that point as well. I mean, probably got more money than most people at school do. I mean, making your own car payment, or something.
Oh.
I mean, I don't know, but
Making tons of money back in
Right.
them days, and you had back in those days had big 7-piece bands, and you play in the big dance halls. They're bringing 1,000, 2,000 people coming in these dance halls.
union, correct? Did you
No.
have to be a part of union? No. Okay.
No, wasn't union back
Okay.
then. Not in Houston anyway.
Okay.
There might have been some, but I never was
Got you.
exposed to union. So it was big bands, lots of people, big dance halls. We made the circuit. I played with lots of bands. Played with a band called Pure Texas. I played with a guy named Eddie Marshall. He was also a fiddle player. We did a twin fiddle deal. I played with him for about a year or so.
Did y'all go through the costume era?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
You dress up and then do, and so, and then my grades started slipping. See, in high school, I tell everybody, I highly excelled in everything in high school, except for English, history, math, and science. Everything else, I highly excelled in. And so, my dad told me, said, "Boy, if you want to keep playing music, you better find you a smart girlfriend."
Right.
Well, that's where my wife came in.
I understand.
I went and hung out down in that smart hallway, where all the smart classes
Right.
are.
Right.
And my wife.
You take
come
your
down.
fiddle with you? You just kind of just
No,
stand there,
I just hang out,
just, just
checking them all out, and one of them come by and say, "Hey, baby, how would you like to do my homework?"
That's what it was. I can get you into any club in
that's right.
Houston if you
That's
want
right.
to. If you
That's
just knock out this essay.
And the rest is history. So anyway, that's pretty much growing up, and then of course after high school, I got scholarship offers from several universities. I stayed in orchestra
Right.
all through high school, and so I really loved just the challenge of playing classical music and learning fiddle at the same time, and so I stuck with it, and couldn't get in college with SAT or GRE. I didn't have the scores or the grades, but I got scholarship offers, and so I ended up going to my girlfriend at the time was going to Southwest Texas State University, and so I said, "Well, I'll go there." So ended up going there. When I got there, I was a music major, around a lot of music people, and it just happened that my roommate they assigned to me was also a musician and a hell of a songwriter. So here we go. We start writing songs, and I guess I was in college for about 6 months. Of course, hooked up with a band, and started playing all the Austin area, all the Austin scene. Did 2 years of that. Changed my major to engineering. So I realized I didn't want to play classical music anymore. My goal was to go play, full time, go play on the road. And after,
engineering sees it like an easy major to pick up with your grade set so far. I mean, you're just going to engineering.
Well, my dad had a manufacturing company, so I grew up in the manufacturing area, and so I knew a lot about manufacturing, and so it was kind of easy for me. But after playing in the Austin area, after about 2 years, I got an offer to try out for a band in Houston, and I went and did that, and they were a road band. They played. There was a management company out of Nashville that put together 4 bands in the United States, and what they were trying to do is put together package deals for artists. So if they booked an artist, what they do is they would provide the sound company, the opening act. They would provide the riders, because at that time, some of the riders, the contracts that the artists in were getting out of hand. You know, I want green M&Ms. I want, you know, and so there was a lot of contract disputes. And so the management company put together these bands that would provide all that. And it really took off. The club owners and the fairs and whoever would take that package deal. Because they didn't have to do anything.
Right.
And, of course, you're booking, you know, a lot of acts, you understand. So I went and did that for a couple of years. I rode on a tour bus, you know, and lived the life on the road. And I got to the signing table a couple of times. We had a lot of original music. But we realized real quick that it's a money game, music business. Right. And
there's a business there for sure.
It's a business. And so anyway, I decided I didn't want to do that the rest of my life. So came home, got married, back to that girl I found in high school that did my homework for me.
Right.
And the week we got home from our honeymoon, I left and went to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. Played one last week at Dollywood. With a band, and then came back and just started playing again locally, you know, and just doing that. So it was really good for me.
Locally is still Southwest Houston, or is it Southwest Houston, or is it Austin? Okay.
Yeah, still I'm sorry, we came back to the Houston area. Okay. Came back to the Houston area and got married, settled down, and just kind of started playing again locally. You know, I realized when you go play with an artist, and we play with opened up for many of them, is that talking to a lot of those guys, you know, you play the same, you know, 16, 17, 18 songs every single night. Right. And you're playing 5, 6, 7 nights a week.
The real music happens after the show.
Correct.
That's from what I've seen in my, you know, in these settings like this, when they can come back down and they've got 3 hours until the bus is going to leave, and they just got to kill some time, and that's when they're playing, you know, what's either on the radio or what they're writing among what the drummer wrote, you know, that's when the real music's. Yeah, I hate to say that, I mean, but that's where then the audience does maybe get to hear that a year later, because, you know, by then it goes to the business side of it and gets released. But you know, a lot of it's written, you know, after the shows and on, so I get what you mean.
Yeah, so it was but I was glad with the decision. I came back and really loved playing and getting to play music I love instead of the same 15, 16 songs every night. Right. I made a lot of friends in the music business back in those days. A lot of them went to play with major artists. And I got several offers after I got married, you know, to go play with several artists, and just said no, you know.
Who's the largest that you remember turning down? That was the hard, maybe not the largest, but the hardest to turn down.
Probably Tracy Byrd.
Okay.
Tracy Byrd. Okay. I had a steel player I played with in Austin, Texas. Went to work for Tracy and became his road manager, I think, and came down and asked me to play. But they had like 300 something dates scheduled. I mean, that's almost every night, you know. Right. So I was like, no, man, I can't do it. But what was the other guy I went and met in Austin? Rick Trevino.
Okay.
Rick Trevino.
Two pretty hot artists during that time.
And so, but the same thing. It's just to either you got to do it or you don't. You know, they're full time. You know, so after coming off the road, I just didn't want to do that again. And
would you have been? And you probably at that point with Tracy and Rick Trevino, you probably would have been. You'd probably been one of the older guys in the band because you're already married, or would you have been in that same age group? Do you feel?
Well, a lot of those guys are same age, you know. But and of course, I had a lot of friends that went with. I had 2 buddies went with Johnny Rodriguez, right. And you know, we can talk about that later. But you know, 30 years later, they called me. They said, "Hey, we need a piano player. You want to come play with Johnny?" And so I was at a time in my life. Said, "Yeah." He was mainly playing in Texas, so we said, "Yeah, we do it." So I did a couple years with Johnny, and you know. And that was a lot of fun.
You basically retired professionally off the road with John at the same time. I mean, because at that point was when he retired, if I recall.
He got COVID and never came back from it. he couldn't sing. He could only do 2 or 3 songs, and it affected his lungs really bad.
Right.
And so it was kind of sad. Of course, y'all know he just passed away.
Right.
So, but yeah, that's kind of my career in a nutshell, you know. And then first kid comes along is Cody. You know, we have 3 children. Cody's the first one.
Give them to me in the order. Give them to me in the order because I know all of them.
So we got Cody, and then after Cody, 2 years after Cody was Chad.
Okay.
And then 4 years after Chad, we had a little girl named Becky, and we called her Becky Lim. So those are our 3 children. And Cody's the only one that really had the gift of music, you know, got that gift and could play by ear and was very talented. The other 2, they tried, but like you were telling me, they just didn't have it. They didn't get it, you know.
And so, it doesn't take long to kind of observe that. When
yeah,
you've got it like y'all do, you know, you can kind of look around and go, okay, you know, so Cody comes into the picture. You're how old when Cody comes into the picture?
25, 26.
25, 26.
Like
So then we'll just kind of fast forward. Cody. Okay, what age, how old was Cody? And was Cody and Chad and Becky all here at the point that y'all moved? Because at some point y'all moved to Burnham in Washington County area, which would have been, and they were all born at that point?
Yes. So Cody,
what brought y'all this way?
Junior high,
Yeah,
6th grade.
8th grade.
Eighth grade.
Up here, I think. So that's when I met you guys.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I've known you as long as you've been around these
Yeah,
parts.
yeah.
For sure. No.
And that's when y'all both kind of came on the scene, and I guess when y'all landed, how long did it take before? Okay, I'll ask you 2 things. How long did it take before y'all landed with what I would say would be Route 4 or Route 3? As Route 4 was first. I think the first time I actually I knew of Route 4, but really and truly during that time, Chance and some of them bands were still going. And I mean, I would see y'all around.
Sure.
I would say back in those days between Zentech and with Route 4, it was, I mean, you couldn't have a barbecue cook-off or a bazaar. Johnny Zendowski.
Oh, you're gonna be
it was what was it, Johnny Zendowski? Anyway, if he wasn't playing a polka set, if it was country music, it was going to be Route 4 or something like that. And then Route 3, I guess, is the first time I remember seeing it. I remember it. It was at BT Longhorn back there in the corner, and so Rita and I went in there to eat dinner, and I mean, I was like, okay, well, I've heard of David. That's his, and that's his boy. Wow, and I guess that was Route 3 is what you would call that.
So Cody started playing about the same age I did, maybe a little bit younger. Playing drums. He,
okay, right.
Of course, got a kid drum set like most parents, and he actually could play them. It wasn't long, and so his mother begged me to ask Santa Claus to bring him electronic drum set.
Or build on a studio or some type of padded roof.
Because he got to, he would turn on the radio. I remember one night we were sitting upstairs.
He's heavy-handed.
Yeah.
Never stopped, Tony. Still to this day.
Started off, I can understand.
We were sitting upstairs. We had a 2-story house and downstairs drum. We were upstairs, and he had the stereo playing, and I was kind of listening. I said, whoa. I said, listen. He was playing with the beat, and her mother started crying. And I said, what's wrong with him? He's going to be a damn musician. So, he started playing drums early, and so we got him up, started playing at church. We, at that time, living in Cypress, started playing at church. And when we moved up here, how Route 3 came about is we moved to Brenham, I quickly found a job playing, with Route 4 at the time. And
playing piano or playing fiddle?
Playing fiddle and piano.
Okay.
Playing both. And
Cody,
Cody,
just
a small stuff,
no big deal.
and singing,
right? And singing, and Cody, Cody needs some playing time. I wanted to get him to keep playing, so we broke off the nights that Route 4 was not booked. We would go around and book just a little 3-piece, me, Cody, and Neil Kahanic, and we called it Route 3.
Right.
It was just 3 of us, and so and that gave Cody a lot of playing time, and so a lot of people were booking us in the small, like Longhorn, some of the smaller places, and it gave Cody some good playing time. So from there, we can take it.
Yeah, and then Cody. So we'll kind of fast forward through high school because that's probably going to look pretty standard playing with Dad, like you said, and then at some point you start playing drums for. You start playing drums for John Slaughter, correct?
No, so
No.
well, I'll back up. So
Yeah,
when I was
yeah.
playing with him in
Okay.
high school, that was the first time really. Because I mean, I tell you, every gig that I ever got in my life probably came from him, or it all ties back to him at some
Right.
point. Because everybody knows
Between
who
him
he
and
is.
Jerry Marino or Robert Sintek
pretty
or
much.
a Mursky or somebody. Yeah,
Pretty
yeah.
much.
Well,
So
even you were playing when we lived in Houston. We
Yeah.
we played with Mundo. That's a guy I didn't mention. I played with Mundo Airwood.
sure.
Some of
Right.
y'all remember him. And one day his drummer couldn't make it, and Cody filled in with Mundo. So Mundo fell in love with Cody, you know, and so he played a lot of gigs before we moved up to Brunswick.
But I mean, we played a lot. I mean, I filled in with. He was in this band called the Tommy Daniels Band, and I played with them a lot. And they were, I mean, in my opinion, as a kid, they were probably one of the best bands around because I mean,
Right.
they were playing everything. But,
Yeah.
anyway, started playing with Mundo. Anyway, played a lot of gigs. But when we moved up here, and you asked kind of how did we end up here, and basically us kids, we were coming up here every weekend and working on our place up here, and we started camping out and stuff like that. And so I think one day me and my brother just said, why in the world don't we live in Brenham? Or we'd rather live up there. And they were kind of like, I remember him saying specifically, said, oh, well, that's all we needed.
Yeah.
Right.
Great. And it wasn't end of school year. It was like, we're moving to Brenham. And we moved up here.
Awesome.
And so once we got up here, you know, he started playing immediately. We started doing the Route 3 thing. But that was the first time when other people, well, they didn't start calling me. They were calling him and saying, hey, can Cody come play with us this week? And I started playing with, like, you know, Daryl Krebs, you know, man, a bunch of other. Jerry started calling and booking me with stuff. Charlie Kelm, you know, I
Right.
started playing with them. And
Right.
they had a nice little band. And anyway, so I started playing with pretty much everybody that needed a fill-in or, you know. And then so from there I went to college, and his story, same deal. He said, don't play, don't work, enjoy your first semester, you know. But he said the first guy I played was a guy named Big John Mills, and he knew Big John from a long time ago, from back in the day when they ran a dance hall, and so he said, hey, look, if you ever see Big John Mills playing, you need to go and you need to introduce yourself, tell him who you are, tell him who I am, you know, and see if he can get you connected.
Right.
So, man, I remember we were going, it was in college, we were going to, I think it was a frat party, and we were riding all together this frat party, and we drove by Cheatham Street Warehouse in San Marcos, and Big John's name was on the deal. And I was like, hey, guys, can we go? And they were ready to go to this frat party, you know, so they're like, absolutely not, we're going. So for some reason, I don't remember why, but we ended up leaving early. We got back to my dorm room, and, you know, I'm laying in bed, and I just remembered Big John Mills, and so I got up, and it was like maybe 11:30 at this point, and I told my roommate, I was like, hey man, you want to go down there with me? And he was like, no dude, I'm going to bed. So I got dressed, and I think I want to say I walked there or something, and I went all the way down to Cheatham Street. They were taking a break, ending their last song, or whatever before their break, you know, came off stage, and I went up to him, introduced him, said, I'm David Reynolds' son. He goes, you're David's kid? I said, yeah, I played drums. And he goes, you want to get up and play a couple with us? So I got up, I think I played 3 songs, and they were all different. It was like a country shuffle, a train beat, and like a blues.
Yeah, that's what they call an audition.
100%. Which I recognize that now. I didn't know that back in the day, you know?
Right.
So I played 3
Let's
songs.
just see.
Yeah, and he goes, hey man, can you hang out? And I was like, sure, you know. So I hung out, couldn't drink. I was like 18, you know. So I just sat in the back and listened. And when he got off stage, he came up and he goes, hey man, so before our show tonight, the drummer quit. He put in his notice. He goes, you want the gig? And I was like, sure. And he goes, okay. And I think this was maybe like February, March. And he said, in July, we're playing this show in France called Country Rendezvous. And he goes, if you want the gig, I need you to commit right now because I got to buy your plane tickets and stuff to go to that deal. So I think I signed some paperwork. He gave me his set list and his CDs, and I went back to my dorm room and I wrote my roommate up. I said, hey, man, I'm going to France in July. I got a gig, you know.
Called Dad and said, hey, I met Big John Mills, and guess what? I'm headed to France.
I'm going to Europe in a couple months, man. So,
Well, and the part you left out, I took you over and introduced you to
That's right.
Kent Finley.
That's right.
Kent Finley, who was a great musician,
That's right.
and who owned Cheatham Street Warehouse at the time, and he was well connected in the music industry as well. So
Of course. What a venue. It's funny. Yeah, that's cool. It's cool how the venues always end up tie up to it some way.
No, for sure. Well, that was cool because he took me. It was like orientation or something like that. We went up there and he took me down there to Cheatham Street and introduced me to Kent. And we sat there and talked to him for a long while. And then when I was up there maybe it was when we went back for orientation, they were down there. And they're very strict rules. You can't leave the dorm room. You got to stay, blah, blah, blah. And my parents are calling me at midnight. We're down here at Cheatham Street. You need to come down, So, anyways.
So you end up in France, playing for Big John Mills, and do that, and then come back and finish school?
Yeah, come back, stayed in school, played with Big John for probably, a year and a half or so. And then...
How far away do y'all get other than France as far as United States? How are you juggling the schedule, I guess? I mean, how far are y'all just running that circuit?
We were just running Texas, really. Playing all the way from Bandera to Dallas and Fort Worth. And a lot of... Big John, a lot of the hill country stuff. He stayed pretty local in a lot of that, and he knew a lot of folks and a lot of venues. So we were doing some really good stuff there. Really enjoyed playing with him. I was just playing drums at that point.
Got a bus or everybody driving their own way?
Nope. It was just, I think he had an excursion or a Tahoe or something like that, and we were just going to shows. And I think the bass player lived in Bastrop, and so we were all just meeting up.
Right.
But I was the college kid, the young college kid, So, I made some really good connections, had a good time playing with him. Played with Red Volkart a couple times on that deal. And I think Red told Big John that I didn't pay attention enough or something like that.
Right.
But it's all learning experience for me.
Right, yeah.
But you were asking about how do I balance school. So at this point, I got a job working for the university. And up at Texas State, a lot of artists, George Strait, Randy Rogers, a lot of those guys came out of Texas State. So there's a big fan base for country music and stuff there. And so everybody that worked with at the university, they were really... sentimental to the fact that I played music and I'd be gone. And my professors the same way. So I would tell people all the time, I'd have a final on Thursday and I'd say, hey man, I'm leaving for a weekend run. I'd be happy to come in and take your final on Wednesday. And they'd go, don't worry about it, man. Can you make it in Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday, whenever you're back off the road, man. So that was awesome. But anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself here. But we had played a gig and John Slaughter, who was the fiddle player for Roger Krager, had recorded a bunch of his own stuff, or was recording a bunch of his own stuff at Rosewood. And he said, man, I've got an album coming out. And I think he was putting a band together. And Dad had called him up. We knew him from meeting him, I think.
I know him when he was a kid.
When he was a kid, in Houston. So anyways, long story short, he had called him up and because I think y'all did a show and Roger Krager was playing and we ran into John and just kind of remade that connection. So he called John and said, yeah, come play this gig with us. So it was me, him, and I guess Neil and John, and we played this gig. And John told us about his album and started calling and booking me. And we started playing, and so then I left Big John, started playing with John Slaughter, went back to Europe again.
Easy not to get confused. Keep the name consistent.
John
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. And then went to France again.
And then went to France again, played that deal. And now with John Slaughter, that was, he was on Red 11 at the time.
Right.
We were opening shows for, Cody Johnson, Turnpike, Kyle Park quite a bit. So bigger artists.
Right.
So now I went back to school and opening these shows,
Right. I bet it was very enjoyable.
It was very enjoyable.
What'd you do this weekend?
Yeah, right.
Anyway.
So it was fun, man. So that, and then that part, now we're going up to Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, doing a little bit larger of a circuit. So yeah, and then end of college, John was we were really doing some good things. He was kind of blowing up, and I just kind of said, man, I've got my degree. I'm getting job offers,
Because you don't make any money on the road,
that's
man.
right.
It's hard. Most of them. You get to the point where you can get those salary gigs. Those are nice, but those are rare. There's just so many of those by the date. But it may take you 2 days to get to the date, and then a day to get home. So you're rolling up there for $250 for a week's pay.
Right.
And then trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Right. Well, what got me, man, and what really is, there was a guitar player that played with us, who was out of Austin, and so me and him would ride to shows a lot because I lived in San Marcos, and he told me a story about he was so inspired to play music, and he played a show one time, and there was like a guitar player who was like 80 something years old, and he could barely even carry his amp on stage and had an oxygen bottle and the whole deal. And he said he was just extremely inspired by this guy, and just told him, he goes, man, I just felt compelled, went and told him how much of an inspiration he was. And he said the guy was like, you think I want to be here doing this right now? He goes, I don't have insurance, man. I got to play this gig, pay for my oxygen bottle. And man, when he told me that, I was like, so he told me, he goes, man, you're finishing school, getting your degree. He goes, I'm sure your parents told you this. He goes, man, if you really love music, do it. But he goes, if not, man, think about that guy with that oxygen bottle.
Right. And David, are y'all, I mean, obviously, it's you can't not kind of be excited when he's opening up, and I mean, just because you've been down that road and all of that. But I mean, are you at that point where you're going, hey man, use this degree and go get you a job and figure out how to pull it off, on the weekend? Or did you ever go, well, just chase it? I mean, because I having a kid that's a musician, I can relate that there's a time frame there where you, as a parent, you're like, yeah, chase it. And then you're like, okay. Yeah, right. But, if it ain't there by now you got to figure some stuff out,
Right, exactly. So, I think, we didn't push college really, really hard. We pushed it, but not, you got to go. But, it's a good security blanket. I know the music. I knew he wanted to play music, and I knew that if that's what he did full time, it's going to be a tough road. And financially. Right. And so I really want him to finish his degree, to have that security blanket there.
Because that musician, what, man, I remember first time Jacob went to Nashville and was sitting in a bar and had watched Chris Young, who was hot at the time, doing something at one of those things, and then the guitar player's at the bar, and Jacob goes up and meets him, and in the conversation finds out the guy goes, yeah, I drive an ice cream truck, and Jacob's like the doo-doo-doo, or like, he goes, look, no, he was like, if the company's name is Bluebell, you ever heard of it? And Jacob goes, they're in Nashville, and Jacob goes, as a matter of fact, I have. I grew up in Brenham. I kind of know, but he goes, you work for Bluebell? And he goes, hey, man, and I won't say what the guy made, but it was very eye-opening that, hey, we just get paid by the gig like everybody else. There are, as a musician, it's different than the front man sometime who can all of a sudden start get some royalties or some, but if you ain't writing, you're not making money. And as a musician, I understand the money is in the end, it comes down to the money on some level. You got to live.
Absolutely.
Well, he told me one time, and I don't mean to jump in on you, but he told me when I was really, really young, he said, when it gets to be a job, that's when you're not going to enjoy it anymore. Right. He said, and you need to really, really have fun with what you're doing. And so you've told me this multiple times. You see, like when I play with Anthony and Night Moves and all of us, and when I play with him, and when I played with Jacob for a little while, and with Jeremy, I mean, we have fun on stage, man. I mean, I have a good time, and if I'm not having a good time, it's not worth it for me to do, And that's why I'm super ecstatic about this stuff that we're doing, because for once, I get to sit next to the old man instead of behind him.
Right. No, I get it. I'm tired of looking at his butt.
That's exactly right. I'm tired of listening to him. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's and so we'll get into that. So tonight, a lot of these people have never seen y'all because we have our rotation crowd. So it's going to be it's going to be for them. Y'all are no different than Jason Eady or somebody else that maybe they hadn't heard of, or Charlie Crockett or somebody that comes from. So you're getting to expose it to. To say 85, 90 people that are going to be maybe new to, but some of them may have seen y'all just because y'all are so local. But then you're going to have your local people from via the Cowboy Church and just the decades now of y'all playing locally. But what they're getting tonight that maybe probably nobody other than close family and friends is that they're getting originals written by y'all, either written solo or co-written, and it's getting exposed for some of the first time. So everybody's getting some new stuff tonight. And so tell me, tell me where that's coming from. Is it gospel? Is it country? Where's all it coming? And why at this point did y'all? I mean, other than it's wanting to get something down, for nostalgia reasons.
Well, they're going to get to hear some original songs tonight that we've never played live.
Yeah.
So. We just finished a brand new album. Very fortunate to be able to have gone and record an album with my son. It was a dream come true. I did 5 songs. Cody did 5 songs.
And I'd be remiss if we didn't mention where it was recorded at, because what I think is one of the greatest studios in the state of Texas, if not in the whole country.
That's right. Straight to Texas, Rosewood Studios. We bit the bullet and went to Rosewood. I said, let's go with the best. So
Right.
Went to Rosewood because I know your son's been there as well, and so we're very happy.
All the big ones that come out of Texas seem to step foot in there at some point, and Leanne Rhymes and a bunch of other ones along the way.
Great studio.
Yeah, man.
So we went up there and recorded. I had 5, and we've got more than that, but we did a 10-song album and all original music. So we're really excited about that now. A lot of all 5 of mine are Christian, what I call Christian country songs.
Right.
Because I did an album, 25 years ago.
It's on the jukebox. It's on the jukebox at our house in the outdoor kitchen.
I did that in Nashville, and a long time ago, and it was all Christian music. So I've been writing a lot of Christian music. But Cody, he's got some on there that are Christians. Got a couple of them that are inspirational.
Right.
Inspirational.
Right.
And so I'm real excited about the project. We had a lot of fun doing it, and they just released it today. Of course, it won't be in your stores. What do you call it?
Social media.
Not social media.
Streaming platform.
Thank
There
you.
you go.
It won't be. You can tell
Took
the old
me a
man.
minute too. I had to go. Okay, CD. Where we go? Lone Star Stereo. Walmart. Okay, yeah. Streaming. That's where we're at.
So I don't even know if anybody has CD players anymore. But anyway, a couple of weeks it'll be out. So we're excited about that, and we're ready. Already working on the next one. So ready to go do another one. So.
And so, other than the writing and the vocals and the obvious part, did y'all play? What instruments did you play fiddle on it? Did you play piano, or did y'all turn that over to Drew and those guys?
We turned it over to the professionals. And the deal
so
about.
give me the musicians on it if you remember all of them, and if you don't, then we'll edit that part out.
Man, if I can look at my phone, I gotta know.
No, that's fine. I mean, was there anybody that you picked? I guess it was a better thing.
No.
Y'all just turned it over to Drew and them.
We turned it over to the studio, let them kind of pick it, and they brought him some.
Yeah.
Just fascinating, unbelievable musicians. Great. So.
Well, let's back on this. We went in and did a couple, and then we went back to the rest of them, and we specifically said we want the same people.
Right.
Absolutely, we said we want the same guys. I mean,
and so they captured what you've all got a vision when you go in there.
We didn't hire a producer, and so we kind of knew what we wanted,
Right.
and we were leery about. Mine's, of course, traditional country, and Rosewood, they do a great job with that. Cody's was a little more popish, and so we were kind of concerned about whether they could produce that, and man, they nailed it. They nailed it.
And I've heard that more than once, because when you run people through there like Jake Worthington and Josh Ward and a bunch of those guys, and those guys have a tendency where people want to pigeonhole them there. Mm-hmm. But man, you can go and just listen to some of that Jason Allen stuff that they've done through there, and just a bunch of them. I mean, Blue. I mean, Blue. I mean, so. By Leanne Rhymes, they've got it, man. I can't brag about them enough. But anyway.
Yeah. So we were real pleased with the project and how it turned out, and so love those guys. The musicians they bring in there are phenomenal, and so I'm excited about getting this one behind us. Get ready. We're starting, doing. Cody's writing still, and I'm writing, and so we're trying to get ready for another one here in the future. So.
Do you see yourself staying in the Christian vein? Is that where you're at? Do you see yourself continuing to write in that Christian country vein, or do you see yourself? I mean, I don't know how you could even answer that. I mean, it may come to you tomorrow. If it comes to you tomorrow, do you write it, or are you looking for a certain?
You're right to write. Lately, I've tend to write towards the Christian side, just because that's kind of where my mind is, and I'm always kind of thinking that. But if a good song hits you, it hits you. Doesn't matter whether it's Christian or you get a good hook, you run with
That's
it.
Why, So, getting on to that, Cowboy Church of Brenham. Mm-hmm. Okay, unbelievably church. I mean, seen it grow over the years, but you were one of the founding members of that church. And when did that start?
So, I guess almost a little over 15 years ago, I got a call. and there was some people in Brenham talking about putting together a cowboy church. And at the time, we kind of started going around, going to different churches in Brenham, and the kids weren't real happy at this one or that one, or we just really hadn't found a good home yet. So I was kind of I'm interested in it, but I didn't know a whole lot about cowboy churches.
Right.
So I got online and started really researching, looking them up, and while I was doing that, I wrote this song called Cowboy Church, and so they had known I did a Christian album, and they were really wanting to put together a really, good band for this church.
Which
so
they accomplished that.
well, in Washington County, gosh,
Yeah.
you got your pick.
Right.
I mean, there's so many good musicians in this
Right.
in this county. It's unbelievable. So we put together a band, and we started church. We started meeting out at the fairgrounds, and it just went from there. And that was
Started at the
15-something years ago.
fairgrounds, then ended up at Silver
Silver
Wings on
Wing.
105. Because
Yep.
I guess the fairgrounds, were y'all in a building there? Y'all just do it in the pavilion at some point?
We did it in a little small
The one on the right?
building, yeah.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
which one you're talking
I think
about.
we started with about 300 people showed up the first day. It was like, wow.
Oh, okay. What
and
will
it-
y'all do?
Yeah, and we're like, so we quickly went from there to Silver Wings,
Right.
and it just exploded and grew. And then they purchased land right next to Silver Wings and built their own building. We're up to, we're running, gosh, over 1,000 people every Sunday now.
It's
just
amazing.
It's amazing, and so
And
that's
y'all have the arena at the church, and
Yes.
all. So that means y'all went to. I mean, y'all got so it's and I know just from guys like Jeff Altbill and stuff doing the flag. I mean, we have a Bible study together, and hey, I'm going to Cowboy Church. They got a rope in it. They got this going on.
Sure.
So I mean, it's really Cowboy
Yeah.
Church has done phenomenal, and it's neat. So tonight we get some covers. Are we gonna get anything off the old Christian album? You think, or
I think we're gonna do maybe one or two off the old album, and most of the stuff we'll hear is our new stuff. But we'll throw in a couple cover tunes, just some people that influence us, like
Right.
Steve Warner or Johnny or some of those. We're gonna do a couple of those, but
getting to Johnny? We talked about that. I know you were on the road with that. It was the last couple of years.
last couple of years, yeah.
But I mean, like I said, you were Texas, so it wasn't as much on the bus at that
Correct.
point, But at that point, the kids were all grown, and
Right.
Becky she's running an establishment there.
Right,
Chad's got his baby and doing all his
Yep.
stuff, and
Yeah.
Cody, you are now the father of
2 girls.
2 girls.
2 girls.
And amazing. Had the babies all natural. Went the midwife route on
Yes,
both
sir.
of them,
On
and
both of them,
I remember that was the first person that I knew personally that had kind of gone that. And
Yeah.
and I was so proud of your wife. I mean, because
Well, thank you.
little thing like that, I thought that girl may want some morphine or
I know.
something, but something epidural or something. But I mean, just. And how's that experience? I mean, that's at y'all did that at the house, and
No, we had a birthing center in
Oh, okay.
the Woodlands. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Conroe, I guess.
right,
But yeah, so did it at a birthing center, super nice
which
place.
is it's done in the bath.
Like in a bathtub.
Okay.
Room. It's like, the way I put it, it's like a 5-star hotel where you have a baby.
Gotcha.
It's pretty much. And so, of course, anybody that knows my wife knows that's right up her alley.
Yeah.
So she's all natural hippie and bougie at the same
Right,
time.
got it all pulled off at the same
Bougie
time.
hippie.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
I'll I mean, we'll wrap it up, man. And did I miss any? Cody, is there anything? I mean, is there anything about from? The obvious answer is, when I ask who your music heroes are, you talk about
Sure.
Steve Warners and all that, and I know, obviously, Dad comes into that. How often now? Because how often does he surprise you? When he does something, when you go, ooh, okay, I got to step it up. I mean, has he gotten to that point? I mean, because David, I've told you this
every time.
before so many times and I've heard a lot of live fiddles in my life. Had an uncle. I mean, grew up on it myself. Something about your tone is phenomenal, but your piano playing also carries its own. Well, I mean, you played for some of the great ones, and there's a reason why. Is he getting close yet?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
The only reason I started practicing again.
Okay.
I can't let him get better
Because
than
you
me.
used to have a pretty famous line, which was something to the effect of, "We don't play nothing past 19th,"
That's right.
because that's what I stopped practicing.
That's right. Nothing past the 80s.
But he got you breaking it back up,
Oh,
did he?
man, I have to sit down all the time. Yeah,
Love it.
yeah. I can't let him get ahead of me.
Well, and that's cool. So,
But he surprises me every time I hear him, and so it gets
what's
better
his
and better.
what's his favorite song that he does, either on the piano or vocally, that you just
so
I mean, do you have one that just you're like, here, okay, I got to just want to sit back, or
Oh, he does so many good ones. I really like that Rock Won't Roll because
Right.
we're big
Restless
Restless
Right.
Heart fans, and so that was my era, and really like Restless Heart, and so I really like him doing that. Stranger in My House, I love that.
Right.
Great piano
Yes.
work on that one, and so even some of the old ones, Marina Del Rey, and some of the pretty piano parts, he's nailed them, and so it's just every time we go, it's something. He pulls that, I go, ooh, that was nice,
and for you, what's the one that you just if the one you're like, hey, I didn't drive all the way in here for you not to sing this one,
Oh,
Dad. I
man.
mean, do you
Golly.
It's hard.
give me a top three.
Man, for sure. I like that. We talk about it all the time, that the gospel according to Luke, every time he does that song, man, I just like, it almost makes you want to cry, That, and then he's going to play a song tonight that they wrote called Paris. And,
Oh, yeah.
Man, that is it's been my favorite song
Right.
since I was a kid, because I've been hearing it since I was,
Right.
little. So,
Look for your bride.
Yeah.
which I got told that the Paris song and that rock and roll, I played them wrong. I got told that yesterday. So I'm seeing, I still got the teacher still working.
Still got to go to work. So, and I'll ask y'all this. I've asked you this before, and I've asked you both this. So I just want to get it on camera. So,
Yes.
you play the piano, you play the drums, you play the guitar, and you sing beautifully.
Thank
Okay?
you so much.
You can only do one of them
Sure.
for the rest of your life after the show tonight, but you can only take one of those with you moving forward.
Sure.
Which one is it?
Piano.
Piano.
Easy.
Okay.
Easy.
David?
Same thing, piano. Yeah,
Really?
absolutely.
You don't open as beautifully as y'all both sing, it wouldn't be singing.
No, I'd take piano. If I could.
Okay.
100%.
So,
Let me explain that. I'll tell you right now,
Yeah.
you could lock me in a room. You could just lock me in a room with a piano and nothing else, and I would be perfectly fine. I'd be challenged. I'd be, entertained. I mean, it's just it's never ending. Where you could go with that.
okay.
So yeah.
So, can you put together a dream band amongst everybody that you've played? How big would it be? I mean, but
Wow.
I mean, or not so much who you played with, but I mean, if you could play with anybody, or if you could play behind anybody, who do you want to hear sing?
Oh, I'd pick Ace and the whole band any day of the week.
Okay.
Those guys are phenomenal, and we have heard them. When they're not on the road, they play by a different name.
Yeah.
And if you don't
John
know,
wished me happy birthday today.
They did?
We share a birthday, by the
Yeah,
way.
okay.
It's his birthday.
And so we grew up when we were at Southwest Texas, where Cody went. It was called Texas State. But we followed George Strait, and he was big in that area. Of course, that's where he was from in that area. So growing up listening to that band, they were just a great band, And so
So if you got to play piano for anybody, when we'll say living or alive, try to give me one of both. When you get to heaven, who you want to play fiddle for? How about that? I'll start there.
oh, I'd want to play fiddle for Gordon Mote
Oh yeah.
because he's the best piano player in the world.
Really?
Oh yeah.
But if you had to sit behind and listen to somebody sing all night and had to play their set list, who you play piano for?
Oh gosh, if I had to pick one artist,
Yeah.
Lord, that's like picking a kid.
I understand.
Which one's
I
my
understand
favorite
that.
kid?
Yeah.
They're all different in a certain way, but you go through phases loving, so many. I really loved, between Vern Gosling and Daryl Singletary.
Yeah.
Those would be, gosh, it'd be hard to pick between those two.
Yeah. If Merle was busy.
Yeah.
Because Daryl and Bert are probably playing for Merle. Daryl's over there strumming the guitar for Merle. I bet you. How long will that line be when you get to heaven? When they want to see how many musicians just want to play with Merle or some of those guys?
Man.
How about you, Cody?
If I could play for anybody, I'd play for him.
Oh,
I'd
really?
play for him. Yeah, I love it. I enjoy it. Well, we've talked before. It's like, I don't know. I just feel like I can read his mind.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, I
so when we
understand it.
play, whether it's piano or playing drums or whatever, or singing harmony, it's just like I just feel like I can read his mind.
There's a question for you.
Yeah.
Because you do it, and y'all both do this very, very well. I've just seen you do it with so many different bands.
Sure.
You enjoy the lead vocals or the harmony vocals?
Whew, man, that's
I just know how you are about the harmonies, and when you've hit a good when you just hit that harmony, does it do the same as when you just hit a note on the solo, or just make a pretty solo run on the piano?
No, it feels better. When you hit a really good harmony, it just feels so good. Right. It does. It just feels so good. And the best ones I can hit are with him.
Oh, of course.
I've done it. Heard
I think that blood harmony has something to do with it.
For sure. But man, there's something about just hitting a really good harmony that makes you feel really accomplished as a musician, or as a singer. Cool. So, that's why when other than playing with him, when I got to play with John Slaughter on the road, when I played with him, John heard me sing harmony, and he was like, "Oh, I need a good harmony singer. So can you sing harmony behind drums?" Which sucks to do it, but. So I got to sing harmony on the road with John, and that was fantastic. And that was where I got to kind of showcase some of that. And
so I ask y'all both one question. You'll both answer, and we'll wrap it up with this.
All right.
So, you got your options. You can be the lead singer at AT&T Stadium, be the Cody Johnson or Zach Tapa today. You're that, okay? Playing and then having to deal with all of it. So y'all both seen it all. So you're having to deal with it. You're having to run that part of that business and be that man at AT&T Stadium, or you play in a band and do what you're doing now. I mean, and what you are able to do now. I mean, is there still at some core, because as a young kid, it's always been. It's like holding up the Super Bowl trophy or the winning the World Series. Would you still want to go through all of that to be able to be all that?
My answer is no. I would rather play in a band at Kenney Store any day.
Yeah.
Okay.
What we're doing here, this is by far my favorite place to play.
Yeah, for sure.
And we love what you've done here.
No,
and
thank you.
supporting live music, and it truly is my favorite place. I would play here any day over playing AT&T Stadium.
Oh man, thank you. Yeah.
Now, I've been there and I've done that.
Right. No, and that's why I can ask that. That's why I can ask that, because
Cody might have a different answer.
No. Honestly,
You play some big
of
stages
course.
though.
Yeah, man. But sure, would anybody love to do that? Absolutely. But honestly, I think it's only that goes back to don't make it a job, have fun with it,
Right.
And so it's only a good time if you're out with people that you love and people that you want to see being
And
successful.
that's probably a better question. Would you rather be in a band in front of, say, 25,000 people, or would you rather sit down in front of 10 that were locked into your song and what you were doing, or would you or is it the band? Because a lot of musicians just like, man, I just want that band is what it's about.
Sure.
For me. Just playing with my friends
Yeah.
and making music with my friends is more important than anything I'll do solo. Is that the case for you?
100%.
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, that and just too, like I'd want everybody else to be successful,
Right,
as well.
right.
Like I feel like if I was a Zach Topper, a Cody Johnson type, I'd want him to play, and whether that was right or wrong, or the record label wants you to like, I'd want him to play a song.
Right.
Like I'd want Anthony Marino to sing. It's like
Right.
I'd want everybody to stand up front and have a ball and let the world know what they've got going on.
So both of you, if you were ever going to be truly famous, it's going to be in a Restless Heart, maybe Alabama. Y'all would love.
Right,
you'd love to be a huge band.
Right.
That would probably be kind of fun. Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, David Reynolds, Cody Reynolds,
Thank you.
Becky Reynolds, because I have total understanding too that wife plays a huge role in all that,
Absolutely.
and supporting all that. So We
Absolutely.
thank y'all so much. Excited about the show tonight, and thank y'all.
You
Thank you,
bet.
yeah,
Thank
same.
you.